Okay, as you can tell, I have my voice back a little bit. It's not great, thanks. I've been trying not to talk for the past couple days so that I could have a voice today for this class. I don't know how long it'll last. If any of you all are having symptoms, it could very well be what I have, which is bronchitis. The reason I'm here is because I'm on every antibiotic under the sun, so I'm not contagious. But if you're coughing, get it checked, because my doctor basically told me to chill the hell out or I was going to end up in the hospital, because these infections get in your lungs, and if you don't treat them, they turn into pneumonia, and then they got to put an IV in. So I'm not sure we'll do the whole thing today. I'll go as long as I can, but you guys are here, so I always do my best to be here, and you're paying a lot to be here, and I don't take that lightly. I want to get through chapters 2 and chapters 2 and 3 of the tipping point, and then we will have a review on Monday, and we'll have the test on Wednesday. I think we're ready. Anything that we haven't covered, anything that we need to review slightly on, we will have time to do that on Monday. But as you can imagine, the bulk of the test will be Lexus and the olive tree and then tipping point. Yes?
I forgot Tom's stuff too.
Yeah, if you could get that to me by Monday, I think that would be good. Anybody that had a real valid excuse for not being able to go to that, another class, job, date, no. What a great date that could have possibly been. Honey, let's go, and no? That's a great date. And why are you going on a date at 5:30? It's like a brunch date. So, but if you did have an excuse, it's not a date, write that on the top, some valid excuse, and then rather than it being 500 words, it has to be 1,000 words, because you have to give me background on this gentleman who started Tom's, and then relate what he's doing back to marketing. So, and that will make up for the fact that you were not able to spend the hour watching it. Who went? Did anybody go? Oh, look at you all. Good. How was it? Somebody tell me how it was. It was awesome? Yeah. I obviously was not able to attend, so somebody tell me what you liked about it.
He was really humble about everything. This cool guy, I like him.
What'd you learn?
Well, like the whole how he came up with it.
How did he come up with it?
He was in Argentina and he was just trying to take a month off of work.
Right.
And he met up with these people who were giving away shoes. And then he woke up the next morning and just thought, why not 1 for 1, buy some shoes and they give them to people in Argentina.
Good. Yeah.
And also, he mentioned something that I think is really important for people who are starting businesses, was that he didn't start out saying hey, I want to start a successful business and we'll incorporate giving.
Right.
He initially wanted to do something that would give back. He wanted to give, and he was like, what is the best approach to giving? He talked a lot about sustainability, and that if it was just a charity, he wouldn't have been able to give as much. Whereas how it's a business now, and so he's able to keep going and producing more and more and giving.
Excellent. And sustainability, that's such a key concept. I think it's one of the things that you guys were so wise to be wrestling with regards to Lexus and the olive tree stuff. It's like, how do we sustain in this olive tree Lexus tension? If we embrace the olive tree too much, that's unstable, but apparently so is the Lexus. And it is wrestling with these concepts. And then, as you say, building sound businesses, you can embrace both, right? And that's, somebody else wanted to chime in? Somebody? What were you going to say?
I like how his approach was so ethical that it depends so many people so fast, and how it can incorporate into so many things with Hanson and so much people.
Like what? I'm sorry?
Hanson, he had them sponsoring his shoe company because they're so ethical. It was really cool.
Well, and you bring up a really important point. When you do these virtuous things, right, and you make as part of your values the ethical thing to do, it leads to business opportunities. Irrespective of what you think of Hanson, there are a lot of products out there that would think, wow, it'd be cool if Hanson would endorse our thing, or whoever, right? But Hanson did that because the value's a lot. You know what I mean? Radiohead infrequently gives their music to Phil, right? They guard it very closely. But I know of several occasions where they've said, no, we just really like this movie. It ain't about the money or whatever. The values align. Let's partner up with it. And that speaks to sustainability too. This operating ethically does not mean that you can't have a very successful, robust business. In fact, it's the opposite. If you don't operate ethically, you can pretty much guarantee yourself that you won't have a long-term sustainable business. Anybody from this side of the room go and have anything? Yeah.
I know, I like how we talked about like the giving business model and like the
Well,
way
define a giving business model.
like how he gives back,
Okay.
like the one
Yes.
shoe thing,
If
and
anybody doesn't know, the deal is you buy a pair of Tom shoes, they give one to somebody in need.
they talked about how he like met with like Fortune 500 companies, and they were asking him questions like, how do you get people excited about what you're doing? Like, how do you get such great employees? And it's just all talking about the giving back thing, and kind of made me think that like his business model is sort of like the business of the future.
It is.
His is gonna like eat everybody out and gonna last.
And hopefully it's consistent with the stuff that we've been talking about in this class.
Pretty much like everything you talk about, he just said it a different way. Like everything like correlated and came together.
Good. Well, good. And you know, it's again, it goes back to values. These Fortune 500 companies that are very top down, they think of their customers in a very specific way, a way to be controlled, right? We talked about marketing. What were the two types of relationships management did I bring up? Remember there were two. CRM and VRM. What do they stand for? Not that hard to puzzle that one out. What's CRM? Customer relationship management. The idea behind customer relationship management is what? Just a quick little review here. You learn about the customer so that you can do what? Okay, satisfy. What would be a more pessimistic way of viewing what you would do to them? Sorry? You control them, right? We're going to control you. We're going to devise a marketing scheme that will get inside your head, right? Isn't that what we think of when we think of advertising? We're going to get inside your head and convince you that you should buy this product or service, right? And we're going to control you as long as we can. The opposite, VRM, which is what? Vendor relationship management means, no. The customers are going to tell us, the suppliers, what we want, how it's going to work. Very, very different type of dynamic going on there. And the reason it's different now, and this is important, right? Post-industrial revolution, once we get into the internet where we've got somewhat infinite choice, think about it. 20 years ago, you know, if you wanted a TV, there were 3 or 4 brands. If you wanted a car, there were 3 or 4 brands. If you wanted music, there were 10 labels or something. That's all gone away, and so the ability to control a customer goes away. So, back to your point, you know, this idea, the Fortune 500 companies, these guys can't yet get their heads around, now wait a second, we can't treat customers like this little ants, little rats in a cage that we put the cheese here and they'll go there. Because they have options. They found ways to get outside of the maze, right? And so what he's saying, I'd be curious to see how you recollect what he said, but what I would think he would say is, look, we don't really think of it that way. We just lay it out. Here's what we do, and our customers will engage with us in the way that they see fit based on our values, based on the service that we provide, right? I mean, does that make sense? Yeah.
Told a story. He was in an airport. The first time I ever saw a pair of Tom shoes, one silver drum.
Yeah.
And so the first day he was wearing a pair of Tom shoes, and she goes, "Oh, what are the shoes you think are really cool?" So she explained the whole story about his venture, his life, pretty much. And he thinks to himself, "Wow, this little girl is doing this. Imagine what everybody else is doing in this
It's right. And so what's that distinction? And this is, it's really well said. So how do we start breaking apart the traditional concepts of marketing? How do we start going, well, wait a second, if his whole marketing approach is built into his business, people talk, remember, the key thing, the thing on the test, if that helps you, markets are blank, fill in conversations. So what you just said, little girl, talking, and he said, imagine what if other people were talking. We do things why? We buy things why? Because trusted sources recommend them, right? Now, our closest trusted sources are our friends and our family, right? But they're not our only trusted sources. Where are our other trusted sources? Where do they come from? Sorry? Internet, but where specifically? Give me an example of a trusted source.
Twitter.
Sorry?
Twitter.
Twitter's the medium. Who said that? I can't. Yeah, so Twitter's the medium. But what's going on Twitter?
Conversation.
So explain to me why Twitter, because you're right, explain to me why Twitter relates to this type of marketing and conversations and trusted sources.
Because I could look up a specific mark I want, search it, and see what people are talking about
Okay.
and saying about it.
That's a really powerful statement. Let's think about Twitter for a second, right? First of all, how do you pick who you're getting information from on Twitter?
Well, you can.
I'm sorry?
You can.
You can.
Well, you can follow them.
That's what I'm saying. So who would you follow?
Friends.
Right. So already you've got your trusted sources there. But you've made another more important point, frankly. You said, I will search on Twitter for something I'm interested in. Go ahead. The internet does shine a light on mediocrity, yes. But, so you do a search on Twitter for a thing. A bicycle, right? And maybe you just do bicycle. Maybe you put the little hashtag in front of it or whatever. And then all of a sudden you get information. What are you getting when you do that search on Twitter?
Opinion.
Opinion from whom? People, exactly. Are you getting it from companies? A little bit. But mostly it's people, right? And you're just seeing what people are doing. What are these people doing with respect to this bicycle? They're talking about it, right? They're conversing about it. You're not going to tweet out about a bicycle unless what? You hate it? You would probably tweet about it if you hate it, but why else might you tweet about it? You like it. It has to be remarkable. It has to be something that you not going to be able to find a damn chalk. If I write the word remarkable on a chalkboard, I will circle the word remark. It has to be something that you talk about. And as you say, these are just people, which is very different for, imagine 10 years ago you were a little kid, but if you were looking for a bike then, how would you have done it?
Go out to the store.
Go out to the store. You get into the store, you walk in, and what do you see? Bunch of bikes. How do you know which one is a good one or a bad one? You don't. Unless what? The brands are important. You might just choose, I've heard through wherever that Mongoose or whatever is a trusted brand, right? Or else the salesman will come up. Now, what's the problem there with the salesman coming up?
He could be buying
He's trying to get you to buy. And what's he probably trying to get you to buy?
the most expensive one.
The one that has the highest margin, right? Not always, right? I mean, sometimes it's possible to develop a trusted relationship with a vendor where he might say, look, this is the more expensive one, and honestly, I'd make more money if you bought this one, but this is a better bike. Why would he do that? Sorry? Wants to satisfy you so he'll do what? Retain the customers, because when you look at the customer journey, what's the most important part? Sorry?
Have them come back and buy.
What's the term? You're right. Repurchase, right? So if I own a store, I'm better off if, okay, you know what, look, these bike manufacturers, they send me stuff, and I'll show you the various bikes, and this is, the one that's getting all the hoo-ha about it and everything, and I make more money on it, but this is the right bike for you, I think. It's cheaper, I'm going to make less money. What does that do to you as the customer? Trust. So then, next time you need a bike, maybe your brother, your kid, or whatever, or maybe someone says, man, where'd you get that bike? What are you going to do?
Recommend.
Right. How often, and what was that whole process when you and the bike shop owner were talking about the bike? A conversation, right? Markets are conversations. He built trust with you. You eventually said, I trust this guy. The other hand, he sells you a high margin bike, it breaks down, whatever, you're done, right? You're never going back and you're going to say bad things about that, So it is possible that these retailers will do the right thing, but we all know that that's the exception, right? So along comes Twitter, along comes Facebook, along comes the internet, along comes Amazon. All of these things that allow us to kind of bypass these retailers, bypass the marketing, right? So no longer do we have this kind of flipping through a magazine thing and we say, wow, that's a really brilliant ad, beautiful ad, I got to go buy that thing. Now we do a different type of research. There was a company that started doing this long before the internet. What are they called? The magazine. You guys have all heard of them. Before you would buy something, not you, but one would buy something, you'd buy this book, this magazine, you flip through it. Consumer Reports. Consumer Reports would rate products. They'd list them. What would Consumer Reports not ever do? Anybody know? Huh? You're close. They would never accept advertising money. Why not? You could not advertise in Consumer Reports. Why?
That would make them like partial to certain.
Trust, right? So one thing that's real important not to forget with respect to the internet, we tend to think of the internet as introducing new concepts. It doesn't. For the most part, it takes old concepts and as you said, it'll shine a light on the bad ones and they kind of go away, but it also shines a light on the good ones and they get traction. But all it does is it takes these old concepts and Jim Collins in Good to Great says technology is an accelerator. It's neither bad nor good. It just is. And whatever you put into it, it's going to make faster. If you put shit into it, it's going to make fast shit. Right? And then it'll shit itself right out the door. It's like a South Park episode, right? You put something good in it, it'll accelerate it right up. And so the logic behind this trusted source stuff, remember, this is all word of mouth. And there were companies doing this long before. You guys know Yelp, right? What's Yelp? Anybody know Yelp? What's Yelp? Yeah, so you go online, your iPhone typically, and you look for something around there, and it gives you, and who puts the reviews up on it? People that have eaten it. So what was the offline version of Yelp? Pre-Yelp, what did we have? Books. What was it? Sorry? Zagat, right? And before that, the Michelin Guide. None of these are new concepts. It's just the internet kind of making them more accessible. But the internet also strips down the ability to control, right? So now you get Twitter. Twitter is hard to control. Back to your point, you do this search. The burden is on you to say, okay, I'm going to trust that these people on Twitter have opinions that I want to pay mind to. And I'd say that's a leap. Where might it be better for you to do a search to get opinions of people that you might have more trust in? Facebook. Right? Why?
Because those are actually your friends?
Actually your friends. You have a connection to these people. That's exactly right. Now they may be, Facebook you start to get certain generations. What's the magic number that Gladwell points out? 150, right? 150 is the number of people that we apparently can have actual friendship relationships with, unless you're Paris Hilton or something, right? But then a lot of us have more than 150 friends on Facebook. That means that we've got friends that are sort of a deviation, removed. But they still kind of trust them because they're a friend of a friend, right? And so Facebook doesn't allow Google to search inside. It allows Google to search for profiles. If you do a search on Google for a person, their Facebook profile pop up. But what they're writing on their wall, what they're writing about in any of those places, any of the links that they post, Google doesn't index that. Why?
Does Facebook want to profit out of it?
Facebook wants it. What do they want?
What Google has? In a way?
They want you inside, but how are they going to make money off that information? What's going to happen eventually, if not today, 6 months, a year, something's going to change on Facebook. What's it going to be? Sorry? You're going to add their own search. Right now, there's search already to a certain degree. But you're going to start searching for a bicycle on Facebook, and all of your friends that have mentioned the word bicycle in the last X number of days, whatever, you're going to get a return on that. That valuable? This is Facebook's huge profitability thing, because now we're able to search amongst our trusted sources. You get it? How do brands possibly compete with that? Yeah. No, it's okay.
If Facebook is eventually going to do this, why isn't Google like scrambling to buy Facebook?
They have.
You think they'll ever be able to like buy out Facebook, or is Facebook going to always keep Google out of it?
I failed at closing the door. Google's been approached by everyone to buy. Microsoft has a piece of Facebook. I mean, these Facebook guys are pretty darn smart, you know, and they've thought of this, you know. And they're apparently profitable now. They're a private company, so you can't get inside their books. But if you believe it, they are making money. They don't need to sell to Google. And this is it's one of these points, one second, it's one of these points that you guys were kind of wrestling with, I think, with, you know, I forget the gentleman in the back who does not appear to be here, was talking about, you know, but what is the sustainability in a globalized world? How do we compete against these big companies? Facebook's a 5-year-old company. They went from dude in his dorm room to this, where Google can't buy them. Nobody can. You know, so it's you got to get out of the mindset of there's this big monolithic structure of decision makers that kind of control these pawns. It's not the case anymore. Go ahead.
Would you say that with websites like Twitter, Facebook, Amazon, advertising is going to take a drastic blow?
It already has. Advertising, traditional advertising, both online and off, in October of 2008 when the market tanked, right? Advertising really hit too. And pre that time, you could look at, and I know this because I've built sites that have done this, you could say, okay, look, I can typically advertise at X dollar per visitor. And if I can get 10,000 visitors coming to my site every day, I could probably pull in 30 to 50 grand a month in advertising revenue. This is pre-October 2008. Post-October 2008, those numbers just started going like this, okay? Both for print and online. Because everybody realized, whether they could articulate it or not, what we just discussed. We don't trust these ads. You can stick them on there, but if there's no click-through of any value, or I'm looking at something on a page, who are the only magazines where we actually see some sort of alignment between the ads and the content? You ladies will probably be the quicker one. Things like Vogue, right? The fashion magazines. You open those up and there are literally hundreds, right, of pages of ads. Vanity Fair too. Hundreds of pages. Why, Hillary?
Because the advertisements kind of, in some sense, they show like what's fashionable. Like they kind of tell you like what. I mean,
They're maybe a little more than ads.
yeah, they show you like what the trends are. They're also like the campaigns, the fashion designers are putting out, so it shows you like the trends and stuff as well.
So they're somewhat in line with the content. The fashion magazines, for whatever reason, have figured out, hey, we've got people paying for these books, essentially, right? And yes, there are articles and all that stuff, but what they really want to do is flip through and look at pictures of fashion or whatever. And you don't mind it, right? I assume you read these, right? So you like to look at it. It doesn't bother you. And so there, I forget who asked the question about advertising. Their advertising is robust. It's healthy. It goes back to vendor relationship management. So the advertisers are going, you know what? This is how we're going to align this so that the ads aren't gross. Somebody had a hand up. Took it down.
Well,
Go ahead.
I mean, if advertising turns to nothing, you might have a
Won't turn to
wonderful-
nothing, but go ahead.
Well, you might have a wonderful, extraordinary product, but how are you going to get it out there? How are
Ah.
you going to get people to?
How will you get it out there?
I mean, you can tweet about it, but if you don't have people to listen to your tweets, what's the point?
Right. So how do you do it?
I don't know.
We don't know. How do we do it? Yeah.
Advertise through your
Target customers, trusted sources. Yeah. How do we do it?
Isn't Google making like a new advertising where it like personalizes the advertising?
Trying. Who's doing that really well already?
Amazon?
Facebook.
There's an ad for the whole thing about Sodexo
Yeah.
and the workers who got fired. There's an ad on Facebook. So I'm guessing like if you're in the Loyola network, they like
You're gonna get it. Yeah. So you bring up the right point. I want to step back 1 second with regards to ads, because start noticing it. Start noticing the magazines that are shrinking. Those of you that still read magazines, and the ones that aren't, and notice these ones that are shrinking that advertisers aren't. It's because the advertisers are going, well, we don't know what it is that you're doing. If you've got a thing, if you're a fashion magazine, and I think cooking magazines are similar, right? They seem not to be at a loss for people advertising because it's food porn, right? It is. I mean, you're just flipping through this thing. Oh, look at that mixer. That is gorgeous, right? You know? Look, I like to cook, right? You know, but so you get the ads there too. It's about alignment. But what you don't see anymore, or what you hate, we still do see, unfortunately, horribly disjointed banner ads, that type of stuff. You're on a site and there's a thing for mortgages and all that stuff. It's like, oh, that ain't working. And the rates for that stuff have just gone through the toilet, right? Thank God. And I hope they continue to go. Because that's bottom feeding crap. But the gentleman's point about where do we start, whoever it was, that's the question, right? That's the right question. It's the right question for all entrepreneurs. Where you start, and this, oh, my man's not here. Oh, you are here. But where you start is to have a product that you believe in. Now, you kept going back and saying that you think it's good, or, it has to be good. And I fought you very hard on that. But I do believe and agree with you that as a creator, you've got to believe, whether it's a creator of music or creator of a product or service, that what you have is really, really great. Because when you believe that, what do you naturally want to do? Talk about it, okay? And to your point, once you start talking about it, if it really is great, these mechanisms, Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, they do allow for that conversation to start a ripple. But if you don't believe it's great, and going back to Tom's again, dude believes his product's great, am I right? All people, I mean, he believes it. He's the guy that started Zappos. He believes it. You believe, it's your mission, right? It's your purpose. Going back, all the way back to whenever we started this semester, I said, you've got to wake up in the morning with this purpose. And then all of these tools, they just help you kind of get it out there. And it does feel like at the beginning, well, who the hell's going to talk about this? And you feel like you're tweeting out into the wind, but you can't stop talking about it, right? And if it really does have some meaning for other people, good or otherwise, if it has meaning, and I think maybe, and I've thought a lot about our conversation, I think maybe the word that we can agree on is meaning. Because I can't agree with you that you can identify something as good or whatever. That's taste. But I can agree with you that if something has meaning to me, then you can define it as good, someone else can define it as bad. I don't care because it's meaningful to me, right? So we need to make meaning. That's what he's done with Tom's shoes, and that's what all great products or businesses will succeed or fail on. Make meaning, and people will want to gravitate around it. And the cool thing is, going back to mavens, connectors, or salesmen, mavens, and you are all mavens, mavens have an instinctual desire to make meaning, right? Or find things that are meaningful to them. Not all of us are mavens. As I say, I think all of us in this room are, but not everyone are mavens. And people that aren't mavens are almost magnetically attracted to them, right? They like people that are making meaning and they want to help. That's where they get their meaning. And so the world becomes sort of this beautiful place. If you look at it this way as an ecosystem. You know what an ecosystem is? Like a little world of itself. That everybody has its little component parts. And in our ecosystem, we need those mavens. We need those people that make meaning. The people that come up with the ideas. Because not only do these ideas give the mavens meaning, but they then act as magnets to pull in these people that, for whatever reason, their brains aren't wired to make the things, but they still desire to be part of something that's meaningful. Yes?
Yesterday, he said that he encouraged people to incorporate giving into their model, because when you incorporate giving into your model,
Into your what? I'm sorry? Model?
The model of your business.
Yeah.
Then people will become your customers, will become your marketers.
Yes. And so and that's exactly right, and that's where I'm going. So you make meaning, you find these others that want to participate in that, and then these people become your marketers, your evangelists, right? That's what I want. I want you guys that are making meaning to find your evangelists. What are evangelists? People who share, people who convert others, yeah?
It's like the story you were saying about the girl you went to the airport.
Yes, an evangelist.
No, but like she kept talking to him like, no, but you don't understand. It's this and it's that, and he was like, he had to tell her he was to overstand.
Yeah.
Because she will stop. He didn't care about the and she kept explaining things, but he didn't care.
And so the religious undertone of the word evangelist is important, right? An evangelist in the religious sense is not just there to share information. What is his or her real agenda? Convert you. To convert you to their team, Christianity or whatever. And that's what that girl was trying to do, and you've all had that. Dude, you have to listen to this record. If you don't, I'm going to come to your house and sit you down and play it for you, right? That's an evangelist. So how do we create products for that? And you don't need a lot of these people, right? Once you get a couple of them, you're off to the races. That's business, guys. Yes?
He spoke about Pepsi not putting commercials on this year's Super Bowl because instead of spending $20 million in that commercials, they decided to use that money to begin their Refresh Everything campaign to incorporate giving to their business. And with that movement they fund people's ideas to start new things.
And do you think that they're doing that just because they're nice guys? It's a better business model. And these two are reconcilable. To create a business model that does incorporate giving, does incorporate social responsibility, and is profitable, is reconcilable, and is what will save us as a humanity, I think. But it also speaks to advertising. Pepsi and Coke say no advertising on the Super Bowl. Our money is better spent this way. All right, excellent, excellent, excellent conversation. Thank you all so much. I will keep the remainder short and sweet. You know, chapters 2 and 3 of the tipping point are pretty darn cut and dry, I think, right? Go through them real quick, but Okay, so you remember last time we just left off with this, that social epidemics, right? That businesses, whatever, are contingent upon these people with specific skill sets, right? Rare gifts of skills. We get this now, right? I feel like you guys are too smart for this. You don't need me to walk you through this. Just generally, maybe help you on the test, but I think you know what mavens are at this point, right? I mean, have a look at this. I can't imagine that this is unclear. For test purposes, yeah, I'll probably throw something up here that will, I don't know. There will be a test question forcing you to identify the various important parties. Mavens, connector set. I don't know how better to say it. This term here, I want to make sure that we're clear on. Right? There's a sort of linchpin between different circles, different socialization circles. If you think of 150 as sort of a key number, connectors may not be friends with all 150, but they tend to be friends with people in different circles. That's all that's going on here. I have a lot of people that follow me on Twitter. I get requests, not comparatively compared to Ashton Kutcher, I have nobody, but for just a dude, I've got a few people that follow me, right? You know, I get people saying, will you tweet this out? Will you do whatever? What's her name? Jessica Simpson charges Kim Kardashian, it's hard to tell them apart. Kim Kardashian charges $10,000 for a retweet. $10,000 to tweet something about a product, right? My fee is much lower. But people want me to do that because they think that I somehow will connect their little circle to another circle. That's the idea. Yes? Well, that's what I'm trying to exhibit, that weak ties. Strong ties, just those are your friends. The analogy I always, I think I've said this before. You're sitting around at the end of in May, you're looking, with your friends talking about what job you're going to get for the summer, right? And you're sitting there and you all have essentially the same idea because you all know the same people, you have the same opportunities. Those are your strong ties, right? But then you get on an airplane or a bus to go home and you're sitting next to somebody you've never met and you say, man, I really need a job and I'm trying to do this, and the guy or girl says, hey, you know what, I know somebody you should contact. That person you sat down next to on a bus is a weak tie that's going to tie you into a whole nother world. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? It's an important point. Salespeople. And so, I hadn't really thought of this until our conversation today. And tipping point is sort of pre-internet in a weird way, right? I mean, the internet was there. But as you read through it, you'll notice there's not a lot of talk about the internet. Vinny, does this stuff still apply? Absolutely. Sales on the internet, we have to still draw people into our own world on the internet, into our own rhythm. We have to find details, context. So whereas before we were in a bike shop talking and developing a rapport and nodding, and you start nodding back at me like you're doing now, those are sales techniques, right? Can you do the same on the internet? Absolutely. Trusted sources exist online. Any examples of one? Sorry? Amazon's an aggregation of, what's a, yeah. For some. No, that's a scam. I'm talking about what sites, if any, do you guys go to, and if they recommend something to you, you go, yeah, I'm going to check it out. Pitchfork is a classic example. I was hoping you were going to say Daytrotter, but go ahead. You were going to say Daytrotter? Ah, A for you in the class. And we just released a new version. Anybody see it? Did you see the new model? Where you can actually, I'm going to show you. I'm proud of this. I believe the world was changed for the better today, and you guys have to suffer through me for 2 seconds. So Daytrotter is a site that I have the privilege to work with. And prior to today, it looked basically like this. Now you can share things more easily. You click on that and you can share right to Facebook and Twitter, and that's all well and good. But the most important, significant thing to me is, so you go and you check out Charlie Wadhams, and I can't imagine any of you all know who he is, but you can listen to the whole song. You can read about it here. A song about being with someone who's kind of a downer. Well, a song about me. Anyway, maybe you like it, maybe you don't. You can buy a lossless version of the whole thing, which is kind of cool. The band gets, or Charlie gets half, Daytrotter gets half. But here's what's important to me. Prior to today, if you went to Daytrotter and you found this dude and you wanted to get his music, you'd either have to steal it or hunt around for it on Amazon or iTunes. But what you sure as hell couldn't do was buy it right from the site. So Daytrotter, over the past however many years, has built itself up for some people to become a trusted source. If Daytrotter puts music up on its site, people go, yeah, I'll give it a try. Not going to like all of it, not going to hate all of it, but, you know, it's a trusted source. But the artists weren't really benefiting beyond any type of promotion. And people would discover music, and do discover music on Daytrotter all the time. And then they go, you know, I'm going to go buy that, and someone will just go steal it. Others will intend to buy it on Amazon or iTunes. Maybe they can't find it, or maybe, like most of us, they get distracted between the time they think I'm going to buy something and then get around to do it. That ever happen? Of course. We've made it easier, right? I don't know of any other store or any other site, Pitchfork included, by the way, where you go, you discover music, you can buy it right there. Why? Is that the craziest thing you've ever thought of? It'd be like if we were selling Coca-Cola and there was a great convenience store and they wanted to sell the Coke, and the Coke people said, you know, there's this other store, they're really big and we just deal with them. It makes no sense. And people wonder why the music business has been having such problems. It's because of crap like this. And it's taken me more than a year to negotiate deals with artists and labels and everything else to make this possible. Because the labels don't get it, don't like it. It's changed. And you know what I'm asking them to do? May I please sell your record on our site? I'm not kidding. That's what I'm asking. We will pay you. May I please do that? No. I'm not kidding. I can show you the countless emails. No. Really? You don't want us to take your music and put it on a site and sell it? No. Why? You know, we don't do that. There's an aggregator called The Orchard, and I have no problem if they see this because they're jackasses, okay? And what they do is they represent catalogs of people, of labels, artists, and they get those bands' music up onto iTunes or whatever, and they handle their digital rights, okay? So I, of course, go to The Orchard and I say, guys, we would like to sell your music on our website. No. You guys are the ones that represent bands and labels and everything else to have their music sold in places. Let me repeat it. We want to sell it on the site. You know, it sounds interesting, but we're having, you know, you probably read we're having a lot of financial trouble, and we're kind of reassessing it. You know, we'll put it on the list. So let me get this straight. I'm giving you an opportunity to put your music on a site that roughly 20 or 30,000 people come to every day to buy music, that love music. You're having financial trouble, which means that people aren't buying enough music, and yet you won't let me put it on your site, on our site. Right. Okay. Sorry. I have a purpose. I have something that gets me out of bed. You know, and I want to talk about it. And I want to change the world, and I want to save the music business, and I want artists to get paid, and I want them to have sustainable careers. I talk about it. So, all right, let's see. Salespeople. So the details, the trusted sources, right? Why is Vibe, what's the hip hop source? The source, right? Huh? Where do you guys go for your hip hop information online? Huh? Do they sell music from the site? Huh? What, see, I don't know what these sites are, but so you go there and find out information about new hip hop music. Can you buy the music right there? Why?
More like just, I think that's more like when something happens, hip hop.
Okay, so it's like a news thing, but so you don't go there to read about. But so maybe Jay-Z does something, and you read about it right there, and watch a video of it. But wouldn't it make sense to be able to buy the record right there?
I mean, they advertise, right? Like,
Advertise
not like you could click on whatever and you could buy. Yeah, like,
from Amazon or iTunes. Yeah. Okay.
How is
You have a freak out shirt on, right? You get an A in the class too. Go ahead.
how is Daytrotter different from something like Amazon? Is it because Amazon you can read customer reviews and find out a little bit about the album information? Is it different because Daytrotter is sort of selective about music?
Exactly. They try to curate it. Not everything is available. I mean, I thought about this last night. It's okay with iTunes. iTunes took the strategy. We are going to build a website and get all the music in the world on it. Now, if you want your music on the front page of iTunes, what do you have to do? How do you pay for it? You don't pay for it. You give them something exclusive. So if you're the Foo Fighters and you want the new Foo Fighters record on the front of iTunes, you've got to record a 5-song Amazon-only EP, right? We went the other way. All we have is exclusive stuff. You can't get the Daytrotter stuff anywhere else. We curate it, we make the drawings, we record it, and everything else. Now we're bringing in those catalog records. iTunes can never be Daytrotter, but Daytrotter already is doing what iTunes can't. It's all exclusive. And that's important. You've got to have a thing for your business. You've got to have a unique value proposition. Right? You've got to do something better or cheaper. We think at Daytrotter that we do something better than other sites. We pick the music better, we record it better, we write about it better, we draw about it better. You may not agree, but we think that's true. That's our competitive advantage. And so now we're trying to make some money for the band and ourselves along the way. Yeah.
Why are record companies, why won't
So dumb.
why won't they give you the music? Why are they stopping? Why?
So the right question is, why are record companies so dumb?
Yeah.
Because they're scared, because they try, their initial response always is no, is that, oh, we don't understand and all that, and we can't. But look, they're all failing. All of them. Not just the majors either, by the way. The indies are failing too.
Are they afraid that, like, if they sell the music somewhere else, they'll lose
Control.
iTunes?
Control.
Is it
No, I mean, they hate iTunes. For the most part, they hate iTunes. Right? I mean, they recognize it as, look, it's a nice revenue stream, but we were bullied into this by this outsider. Steve Jobs is not even one of us, and he made us do this, and they hate iTunes, right? And they're not too thrilled with Amazon either. But they realize that they, and it's just like we talked about these terrorists that have the cognitive dissonance because they have to use the very tools that they hate to blow things up. They got to use a cell phone to blow up things about technology. Well, the poor record labels have to do deals with iTunes when all they really want to do is go back to when people would buy CDs. That's what they really want, because CDs cost nothing to make, and they can just sell them over and over again, and they're harder to pirate and stuff than that. And that's what they want, And so Steve Jobs is saying, yeah, but you know who doesn't want that? Customers. Everyone else. And guess where it's happening next? books. You know, the iPad's going to blow books apart. Movies. Yeah.
Did you read about after they said the cheap date for iPad, Apple, the announcement of the
Wait. I heard one word in that iPad.
after they said the ship date
Yeah.
I think it was on Friday.
April 4th. Yeah, what about it?
Apple stock went up like it
Jumped,
it is now one of the 5 top companies.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Do I agree with that?
No. And then after that, I read something that said like quick vote on CNN Money, and they were making a poll about which company had more merit, Apple or Google. And
Cares. Go ahead. What did they say?
then, like 2 days later, there was a Fortune 500 poll, and they
Okay.
said like Fortune 500 says Apple is I remember the word they used, but Apple won
Apple what?
the poll like against.
The people love Apple. You know, because I'll tell you why people love Apple. And it's not because of the great products they make. Apple sells creativity. Apple sells the idea that when you get a laptop, you're going to write a book. You're going to take better photos. You're going to make better music. That's what they sell. They don't sell laptops. They sell creativity. And when you can sell stuff like that, you make a fortune. Yeah.
That's why like
Windows sells frustration.
right. So like or like you look at other it's like, oh, buy this because you'll be more productive.
They sell frustration. And that's why, I mean, look, with the iPad, they've made it a closed thing. And all the little geeks are freaking out, but I can't hack it, I can't download my Android apps or whatever. They don't care. We're going to make you something that you will use to be more creative in the same way Black & Decker make a hammer. Go build something. That's what they sell. They sell elegantly designed programs that allow you to make you feel smart and creative. When people feel like they can buy smart and creative, they can't get their wallet out fast enough. You're laughing, am I wrong? You're laughing, am I wrong? This is my last lecture post this on. Look at that poor guy. Almost done, guys. So chapter 3. Key point of chapter 3 is stickiness, right? Small, critical adjustments. Just showed you one. Daytrotter. If you were at the site yesterday, you were at it today, you probably go, well, something's different. But it's not like a wholesale thing. There's a site called the Internet Web Archive where you can go back and look at sites in their evolution. Somehow or another, I was doing a Pitchfork yesterday. Pitchfork 4 or 5 years ago looked really bad. Most sites did. But they still were successful because of what they were doing. They were a filter. But it's interesting to watch the small, subtle changes. Amazon does this very well. Apple does this very well. If you go back and look at what the original iTunes store looked like, it's just a cluttered mess now to our eyes. Slowly changed things. I'm not going to go through the examples that are all in your book, but please make sure that you've read through there and get what they were saying. You know, what did they do with Sesame Street? And then with Blue's Clues, too, yeah.
I think Facebook did a bad job of that, like subtle changes over the last 5 years.
I think that the proof is in the pudding.
I know, I'm
And
just saying.
I think, what is it, 400 million users now?
Yeah.
That's bigger than Mexico.
Subtle changes are better than more drastic ones.
Well, I tend to think so, because if it's too drastic, people will really go, that's freaking me out, I'm never coming back. Now, it does, but look, you got to remember the great important line, I quote Henry Ford more often than I should probably, but he says, if I had listened to my customers, I'd be building faster horse and buggies. Customers never ever want change. or they never demand change. They don't know they want change. You know, we'll get some backlash on this with Daytrotter. People tend to like things, they resist change. But then they kind of can't remember what it was before. And Facebook's pretty good at this. I mean, there was an uproar when they did the sort of live stream. But now I think we kind of, you know, it is what it is. We like it. Nobody stopped using Facebook because of it that I could tell. Yeah, where do you go? There's no, and that's a really important point. I keep waiting for the Facebook alternative. It hasn't shown up yet, unless you guys know something that I know. Don't. Huh? Look, chat roulette is probably the most exciting. I mean, we've talked about it in here, right? I mean, it's probably the most exciting thing on, and it's gross as hell. But in terms of just like the possibility, it's cool. I mean, I was talking about chat roulette months ago. Someone else had a hand in question? So, but change, I mean, you're right to think about it, but just and think about this with your music or whatever your business. You're going to make a change, and customers are going to go, ugh. But they never demand change. And if you wait for them to ask for it, it won't ever happen. They don't engage that way. Yeah, we talked about this. Content. You know, this is what I mean about you got to have something. It goes back to what makes Daytrotter different from Amazon. Daytrotter owns, controls, has specific content. Amazon just sells it, except for one product. What is it? Huh? Kindle. What's the #1 selling product on Amazon? Kindle. Now, the Kindle sucks, has. And Apple has made the Kindle look like just a very bad operating system. You know what I mean? It's like when you're going to put your iPad next to a Kindle, it's going to look like, oh, okay, 2010, 1987. But they'll evolve or whatever. I mean, they still had a thing, but it's content. And don't forget this, because most of you are content creators. Right? Content matters. All these tools to spread it and share it, give it away, whatever. You need the content. Is it memorable? Can it create change? Right? A term that's used a lot in these social entrepreneurship circles is change maker, right? You're going to hear that word, phrase, whatever it is, neologism, a lot more. Change maker. Can you take an idea, a thing, and make change, make progress, build something? Right? And through that, can it get somebody else to do something, right? This becomes our little virtuous ecosystem. Can you make something that catalyzes someone else's imagination and they go, I want to build it. I want to add to it. That's when cool things happen. Twitter's cool because they came up with a service, 140 little characters or whatever, but it's created this whole world of people saying, I'm going to build this thing to make Twitter better. The games on Facebook, in my fever dreams last night or the other night, I was thinking, I got to come up with some game for Facebook, dear Lord, right? So Facebook creates this platform, and now people are contributing to it. One thing we need to do at Daytrotter is make it more participatory. How can people use our content? Right? It's the right question. With whatever you're building, your music, your whatever, how can you make it so that it's not just you shooting something out, but more that people are spurred to action with it? And you see artists doing this. I'll give you my Pro Tools stems, remix it. Those ideas seem tired to me at this point. I'm looking for the new ones. So ads have to be seen 6 times before they are remembered. I bet that's according to Gladwell. I bet it's higher because I think they were just hit with more ads. But it speaks to the idea that, you know, if it's just a random thing, we got to see it a bunch of times before we finally go, okay, yeah, I guess I'll investigate. Unless it's something that we're looking for, right? So again, we go back to the conversation that we had about Facebook. If you type in, or Twitter, if you type in bicycle, you don't need to see it more than once, right? Trusted source of you says this is the best bike I've ever owned, link, you're done. Didn't take any time. So the context, where we see these ads, becomes way more valuable than the number of times. And it's true of the fashion magazines. If you are predisposed to be looking at couture, right? And there's an ad for a thing, and wow, emotional connection, I'm going to go investigate. I mean, my little device, anybody use Evernote? Right? So Evernote allows you to kind of take notes. If I see something, I'm on a plane more often than I'd like, you know, I'm reading a magazine or whatever, I flip it open and then I can take a little picture. And then that syncs to my URL. And then when I get home, all of my little pictures and my little notes are right there, right? So it's the context. And these devices just allow us to contextualize faster. The gold box, again, I'm just trying to give you some pointers as to what you should be focusing on in this chapter. I have neither the voice nor the stamina at this point to explain it all for you, but go back and read about the gold box. Make sure you understand that. Read about Sesame Street, Blue's Clues. But the key is the viewers are participants, right? We want to participate. We don't want to be passive anymore. Here comes everybody, as Clay Shirky says, right? We're no longer, Apple sells creativity. Apple sells the idea that we too can build something that people will care about. There's an iPhone game called Doodle Jump. Anybody know Doodle Jump? Doodle Jump costs 99 cents. They've sold 3 million copies of it. They sold the first million copy, it took them a couple months, and then they've sold 2 million more in the last couple months. You know, it's crazy. They take home 70% of that. So it's a lot of money, right? So Apple sells this idea. The reason the App Store and thus the iPhone is so popular is because, hey, maybe I'll make the next Doodle Jump. A company I started called TuneCore, we sold access. We sold the idea, hey, you can make music and get it up on iTunes, right? Why not? Your music's cool. So think of people as participants. That's social media, right? Sorry, social entrepreneurship. Participating, not just pushing out. Practical, giving people direction. One of the things I'm worried about with the new Daytrotter site is I don't know if we've given people enough direction about, you know, you can buy this album here. Hoping people will figure it out, but I'm not confident of it. In the book, they talk about finally, people paid attention to this thing when they put a map on something that everybody knew how to get to already. Go figure. Because it's personal. You are here, right? You walk into the mall, you look at the map, what are you looking for? You are here. We all want to know where we are. We need to contextualize where we are, and then we can understand what's around us. Just read this, you know, understand that we're overwhelmed with stuff. It's way more than this, way more. If we get 4 15-second commercials and a 2.5-minute commercial timeout in a football game, the effectiveness of any one 15-second ad drops to 0. Just bombarding people with stuff doesn't work. I think we've made that abundantly clear in our talk today. Actionable, right? Spur people to action, personalized. Okay, I'll try and get these slides posted sooner rather than later. Please go back through and review your tipping point stuff. I have a feeling you guys haven't spent the time that you should. Have a great weekend.